Is house hacking while in college possible? Where you can buy a house, live for free, rent out the rooms, and even make some money? Yes, it absolutely is. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing really 3 things. 1, how I did it. 2, the worksheet to be able to assess the property in which you want to do this. And 3, the steps to get started. So all of those are time-stamped below if you want to jump to a different part of the video. I'm Garrett Weldon, and this is my channel. So let's get started. The house that I did it in. Now there's something to be said when you're in college, when finances are tight, when you are trying to study and dig into different aspects of schooling to say, okay, how am I going to cover one of my biggest expenses, which is undoubtedly housing. When I was in college, I had to go through the same process, and I came to the conclusion that there was no way I wanted to be paying other people to live for the years I was in college. In fact, I wanted to make that expense a 0 on my expense column and have other people pay me for a roof over their head. And that's just what I did. So you really have to be diligent on the type of houses that you look for. And this is the house that I was able to house hack while in college, and ultimately not only live for free all of the years, but have a positive cash flow. So a few things to consider. Parking. You've got to find some that has enough parking because you're going to be bringing people in the house. So this has side parking. It's a 2-car garage in the back, parking out front, parking again in the front of the house. And then what I have found, and I'll start from here on the bottom, is that a 4-bed, 2-bath house is the minimum you need to be looking for. The economics on a 3-bed house or a 3-bed, 1-bath just doesn't work. But as soon as you get to a 4-bed house, the multiples of having that many bedrooms can make a house hack possible, especially while you're in college. So the house I bought was $103,400. I had a down payment of 5%. So my mortgage, and this isn't including all property taxes and insurance, and we'll get into that later, but my mortgage was $580.68. So this is the house that for 3 years, I had all 3 rooms outside of my own. I was in the master, all 3 rooms full, paying me on a monthly basis to live there. And not only having a positive cash flow, but having that month after month after month. And in the end of school, when I was ready to, in essence, move and go get my first career, my first job, I was able to sell this house for a gain. And since I had lived there for over 2 years, all of the gains that I realized were tax-free. So house hacking is a great idea. It's a great idea and can be very doable while in college. You've just got to get the numbers right, and you've got to get the right house. So with that, let's dig into some of the numbers. So this is the worksheet I used to assess the property I ultimately bought, and one that you can use as well to assess properties you're looking at to analyze them if a house hack is possible for you. This isn't the most sophisticated worksheet, but it's adequate to get started. And you can download it for free down below. So take it, use it, and see if it helps you analyze some of your properties. So everything that's in green are items that you're going to need to input. So the first goal, what we're trying to actually conclude, is based on the house you're looking at, how much would you have to charge per room in order for it to actually make sense financially and break even, live for free. And then you can start contemplating how much you'd have to charge per room to have positive cash flow. So this one is just to figure out how much you're going to need to charge per room to break even. So you'll need to input the purchase price of your property, which for mine, I inputted that right there. The number of rooms you intend to rent. So if it's a 3-bed, 1-bath, you need to put in 2 here. If it's a 4-bed, 2-bath, you need to put in 3 here. Meaning don't count the room you're going to be living in. The next is what your mortgage is. And why I have mortgage, taxes, and insurance all split out is because when you're just starting the analysis, when you work with some of the mortgage calculators, they might not be including all these taxes and insurance. So put in, based on your rough calculations, what you anticipate your mortgage to be. Or if you have a degree of specificity, put that in. And then your vacancy rate. I've calculated this at 6%, of your mortgage. So that will pop right in and tell you what you need to set aside for on a monthly basis to cover potential vacancy. And then property taxes as well. I have 1% inputted of your purchase price to load into property taxes, property insurance, $40 a month, and then maintenance, I have it set at 0.5% of your purchase price. Now they recommend 1% of purchase price, but often since you're going to be an actual residential landlord and you're going to be there right on site, that some of those repairs, particularly if you get the right house, will be less over time. So when I load all of that in, my break-even point for those 3 rooms was $261.59. And that's when I said, this is a doable deal. I can absolutely rent out 3 rooms at $262 a piece. So then what I come over here, and you can start playing around with what your price per room could be if you put your price per room at a different level, how much cash flow you would have. So you can play around with different numbers here, knowing that it takes $261 to break even. What if I sold them at $285? Then you'd have $70 cash flow. What if I was able to sell them for $330? Then you would have $205 of cash flow. And so in my experience, what I did, I said, okay, I know my break-even point, and I just want to make sure that I get them sold. So I started off selling each room at $285. And this was good. I knew at that point that I was going to be cash flow positive. And I was confident I could sell the rooms for $285 a piece. And so what I did, and I would encourage you to consider this, is as each tenant or each roommate ultimately came and we were able to agree on this rental price, I committed to them that this price per room, in essence, their rent each month would not go up as long as they lived there. And this was a strategy used to get some really solid and some solid roommates, because in essence, I was placing my property into their hands to make sure that they were going to be invested and take care of it. And so if you can commit to them some of those type of concessions up front, that's great. So what happened is over the course of the years, I started out at $285, and by the end, I was renting the rooms out, one for $310 and one for $330. So overall, I was averaging right about $310 at the end from a price per room, which means by the end, I was cash flowing $145 per month. So living for free, cash flowing $145 per month, paying down my mortgage on a monthly basis, and getting it set up so that I can make a strong sale to market when I finish college. So this worksheet, again, you can use it, put your numbers in, and play with it to really make sure you know what your room, price per room, will need to be. And then, of course, you can play around with, well, what if I bumped the rooms up to a certain price? How much cash flow would I have? So again, this worksheet you can download below. I found it very helpful to analyze the options that were in the marketplace, because some will work and some won't work. And like I said before, likely it's going to be a 4-bedroom where you start to see the numbers start to pan out. So the next thing to consider, it's like, why now? Why is now a great time for those that are in college to house hack? Answer: interest rates have never, not never, interest rates are low. Interest rates are at a point where you could house hack a house that you previously wouldn't have been able to. You could get into a house with less down overall than you previously would have been able to, and your price per room will be such that it's going to be, in essence, possible to do this within the marketplace. So I want to explore that a little bit and talk a little bit about why it might be a good time to do that now, just by exploring the power of the interest rate. So let's go over and look at that. Okay, so over here you have the same worksheet we were working with. This is just tab 2 to let you run a few different iterations or examples. And on this side of the screen, we just have a basic mortgage calculator. So let's assume you're looking at a property that's around $250,000. It's going to be a 30-year fixed mortgage, and you can get it at 3%. So if you do that, your mortgage is going to be $1,054.01. So I've inputted that right here. So this is the 3% column. Then let's assume the only thing that changes is instead of 3%, it's 6%. So now your mortgage would be $1,498.88. And I inputted that here. And we're assuming everything else is the same. Purchase price is the same. The number of rooms you have to rent is the same. Vacancy rate, of course, these will change a little bit because it's based on your mortgage. Property taxes, property insurance, maintenance is the same. So just by playing with the interest rate, look at this. With a 3% interest rate, you need to rent out the rooms for $490 a month. With a 6% interest rate, you're up to $650 a month. That's very different. And where are interest rates trending right now? More in the 3% column. So you are at a position where maybe what wouldn't have been a profitable house hack, particularly while in college, it can now be profitable. You are in a position where the number of rooms needed might be lower. You are in a position where you can, in essence, create something that's going to work for you and it's going to work for your potential roommates that you're going to bring in, since you're running this as a residential landlord house hack. So this is something to strongly consider right now. So where do you go from here? You're convinced you want to be into house hacking, and you think that being a residential landlord could be really the strategy for you, particularly while you're in college. It's a great way to have cheap living expenses while in college. So there's 3 steps. There's 3 steps to get started, and let's take a look at those. So the first is you have to be committed to the numbers. So many people, when you start looking at real estate, become emotional about it. And they end up buying a property they love, or that they could see themselves living in for many, many years and raising a family, and it's going to be their forever house. No. You're looking for rental grade quality real estate that structurally is sound and that the numbers work out. So you have to be committed to the numbers. You have to be committed to the worksheet that we reviewed, that again is free via the link down below, that you can in essence run numbers for properties you're looking at yourself. You have to be committed to the numbers. If you think you're going to start looking at properties and that you're going to be pulled away by emotions, or you're going to be looking, instead of just 3 or 4 years down the road, 5, 10, 15 years down the road, leave now. Get out now. It is not to be done in an emotional state of mind. You've got to be committed to the numbers. The second one is find an agent. Now, I'm going to dig into how to do this, but so frequently there might be the question of, okay, should I find a real estate agent first, or should I find a lender first? And you've got to zoom back and say, okay, let's really analyze each of these 2 entities, an agent and a lender, and they're two different entities. So a lender, their predominant clients, when they go out and they recruit and they, in essence, try to build up their book of business, they particularly go and try and find agents and convince real estate agents that they should place business with them as a lender. Real estate agents go out and try and find people and convince people that they should work with them as their real estate agent. So this is very different. Lenders go find brokers. Brokers go find people. And so knowing that trail, I would highly recommend the first step that you do is find an agent. And again, let me go in one layer deeper as to the why. So if you first go find a lender, and a lender gets you pre-approved or pre-qualified, whichever is the strategy that's used in your market and the term that is used, they can then use you to try and build up their book of business by then handing you off to a real estate agent that they're trying to win over. And that's not the situation you want to be in, to be handed off by a lender to a real estate agent that's trying to be won over. Because basically the lender is saying, look, I have a golden candidate, don't you want to bring more of your business to me? Whereas if you go to an agent first, an agent really wants to make sure that you are treated in the most fair and equitable and efficient way, because the only way they will ultimately get paid and their book of businesses with people is if the deal closes. So they will place you with a lender that they are confident in and that they have worked well with, so that the process can almost be guaranteed as being smooth and efficient and effective. Find an agent first. So how do you do that? Let's go over to Zillow.com and find one of the easiest ways, if you don't have a real estate agent, to really drill into your area and find an agent. Okay, here we are at Zillow.com, and it's so easy. They have this button called Agent Finder. Click that button, Agent Finder. Look your city, so Salt Lake City, Utah for me. Come down here to buying, and now you have a whole list of agents that do business right in that area that you can call, that you can interview, that you can talk with. And what I like even more is you can drill in to each agent to actually see where they've been doing work. So let's say you take a look at Mr. Michael Perry. You can click, and if you come down here, you can see, again, yellow means these are properties they've sold. You can zoom in and see everywhere that he has sold houses. And so if you're looking for properties right in this area, he might be your guy. If you're looking for properties in this area, he's not going to be your guy. He doesn't know that area. He hasn't sold in that area. So this is really good to see where they've actually sold so that they can be aware of local market trends, of how different neighborhoods have been selling and changes and dynamics within given specific entities. So don't be afraid to spend some time on Zillow.com in this agent finder tool to look at what's happening. The other thing I like, and this is just a side note, is in their specialties. I like to see if they themselves are in any type of, we'll say, buying or running, managing real estate. Do they just sell it as a consultant? Do they just sell it as an agent? Or do they see this as an investment strategy as well? So you might see things here that would hint towards the fact that they themselves are involved in real estate. And from my perspective, that's one additional reason to potentially consider them as the agent for you. So that's a great way to use Zillow and find an agent in your area if you don't have one. So that's step 2, is find an agent. Let's go back to step 3. Okay, step 3 is get pre-approved. And it might be pre-qualified in your area, and there might be slight differences between the two. Work with your agent to basically know which one should be used in your marketplace. But let me take you through this. You go, you use Zillow, you find an agent, you call them, you tell them your plan, and they're excited about your plan, saying, yes, I can work with you. And then the next thing you say is, okay, I would like to, in essence, look at 4-bedroom, 2-bath houses within this proximity, and I want to know who you work with from a lending standpoint because I want to go get pre-approved so we can get this done. That, in essence, speaks so strongly to your agent that you're serious and that you're a client that they should dedicate time and resources to. So step 3, after working and meeting your agent and making sure that they're the one for you, is letting them quickly know that you intend to get pre-approved and pre-qualified, and let's get that started so that when the right house comes, when the numbers work, you can immediately move forward into an offer, into getting that offer accepted and going through the necessary due diligence to close that house and start hacking it. So the 3 steps: be committed to the numbers. You have to be. If you're not, you'll be emotionally drawn into something you should not be in for a house hack. Find an agent, use Zillow, look into the areas they've sold, and then work with that agent and let them know you're serious about getting pre-qualified and pre-approved. Doing all of these things, you absolutely, while in college, and even after, these same principles work. While in college, this was a great way for me to not only live free and to have positive monthly cash flow, but then at the end of college, be able to sell the house for gains. If this information has been helpful, again, consider subscribing below to this as we go over more and more things in this genre, in this type of field, and also consider checking out some of my other videos to really explore how me and my wife are working not just towards financial independence, but financial longevity.